Hello and welcome to the launch of the Shure audio ecosystem, which is a complete end-to-end audio solution for conferencing. I'm Rob Smith. I'm talking to you from the Rose Shure Centre in central London. Shortly we will be splitting up into groups for the various languages we're covering today. This is a really exciting launch for us. It's the first time we've done a virtual launch for a product range of this scale, so I hope you enjoy it.
Good morning. Welcome to the virtual launch of Shure's new ecosystem. We're here live at the Rose in London. It's a pretty strange atmosphere as there's nobody else here. London's pretty much deserted and it's the first time we've done a launch like this. So thanks for tuning in. This launch is being done across Europe, Germany and France as well. So ignore the German and French guys for now because they won't be part of this presentation. But to introduce everyone, you've already met Rob Smith, who's the Director for Sales in Western Europe. My name is James Hill. I'm the Director for Sales in UK and Ireland. And presenting later on this morning will be Andrew Francis, the Manager for Applications in the UK, and Tom Coleman, the Engineer for Application Systems in the UK. At Shure, we've always pushed to bring new innovative products to market. In recent history, Shure introduced a new class of conference microphones, the Microflex Advanced Array portfolio. Unequaled in design, performance and support, MXA microphones surpass customer expectations. End users, consultants and system integrators alike have all embraced the MXA family, and it's without doubt the most adopted microphone in corporate spaces today. It's fair to say that with the advent of the MXA range, microphones came of age. However, the introduction of these game-changing microphones illustrated just how archaic off-the-shelf DSP treatments of microphones were. Shure once again innovated, this time in DSP technology with the introduction of the IntelliMix P300 conferencing microphone processor. A hardware processor that easily handles this new generation of microphones while providing ease of deployment and simple connectivity for conference spaces the world over. The IntelliMix P300 also brought Shure networked audio encryption between the microphone and DSP for those users concerned about keeping conversations private. Again, another industry first. The MXA-910 and the MXA-310, along with the P300, have changed the way front-end premium conferencing is accomplished. But Shure is driven to push the boundaries even further in everything we do. Today, you will see an innovation in DSP processing that once again turns industry expectations upside down. As we introduce some of our new products today, you'll also see some familiar hardware, but you'll also notice that a fair bit's missing. In fact, you might notice that several hardware system components completely missing. A new era in conference room audio is here, using components already found in the conference space. Utilising the computing power built into the existing in-room PC that runs the soft codec, Shure's new IntelliMix Room application handles all of the conferencing audio processing required. No more need for bulky, rack-mounted external DSPs. Instead, the audio processing lives on the soft codec PC. Modest PC requirements include Windows 10 Pro operating system, 4-core i5 processors with 8 gigabits of RAM and a solid-state drive. The very same requirements typically as the software-based conference platform that you're using, for example, Microsoft Teams or Zoom. Shure will also look to capitalise on the success we've had with our array microphones by introducing new form factors in the MXA line. Many times, a table array or the square ceiling array just doesn't work in a particular space, whether this can be due to ceiling type, the design philosophy, or simply the architecture of the building. Today, as we present our new portfolio additions, you will experience a new array microphone form factor, the MXA-710 2-foot and 4-foot linear array microphones. Yet we know that the conference room of the future needs an end-to-end solution. So today, you will see and hear another innovative solution that completes the audio signal chain. A new Dante-enabled PoE network ceiling loudspeaker, the Microflex MXN5C. The old bulky amplifier for the loudspeaker is now gone. It's a thing of the past. A PoE switch simply connects all the endpoint transducers and it's all just software in the middle. Imagine the possibilities. You will see how Shure has once again changed the game. I hope you get excited about these products just as much as we have developing them. There'll be a Q&A session at the end, but you'll be able to ask questions via the portal from now on in. So please Fire your questions at us and we'll endeavour to answer them all. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Andrew and Tom, and thanks for tuning in.
Thank you, James, and thank you to everybody watching us talk about the launch of our new Shure Ecosystème, which is a vision for a holistic end-to-end audio system from a brand that you trust. So Tom and I are going to run through the products which make up our Shure Ecosystème, which not only includes our existing MXA 910 and 310 microphones with the P300 processor and IntelliMix room, but now we're introducing into that family the MXA 710 linear array microphones, the MXN ceiling loudspeaker, and our new MXN button. All these devices live in Shure Designer, which we're going to have an overview of how to configure and commission all these devices, and we'll take a look quickly at IntelliMix Room as well. IntelliMix Room is our digital signal processing, which has come out of our P300 processor to take the same audio quality processing and move it into a software environment. What this means is you can seamlessly integrate it into soft codecs hosted on a Windows 10 environment, which means you can take audio directly from our microphones into your PC without any additional black boxes to do the processing for you. It's scalable with 8 or 16 channels of microphone processing, so suitable to small, medium or large rooms. As it runs on Microsoft's Windows 10 platform, you can see some devices here which it's compatible with, as long as any other device which meets the minimum hardware specification. We're going to have a look quickly at how IntelliMix Room with Designer can be set up and suitable for starting with a small huddle room. And I'm going to switch now to showing you Shure's Designer product. Here we have Shure Designer, which I've previously created a project for called our Ecosystem Launch. I can see in the bottom hand corner here that we have 6 devices online, which are all on our table, and I've created 2 rooms for us to put these devices into. Let's start with the roundhouse room. And now on the left hand side of the screen here, we can see that we have our 6 devices live on the network, and I can identify them so we can see which ones we are working with. I'm going to start with a very simple system using our 2-foot MXA 710. We'll be using it in the wall horizontal orientation. And because it can be installed in a table or on the ceiling or on the wall, you do get the choice of which orientation you wish to install it on. And we'll pair this up with our IntelliMix Room DSP software. Now that I have those 2 components in the Designer window, I can hit our Optimize button here, which automatically creates audio routes between the 2 devices, turns on mute synchronization between them, and puts in some of our recommended audio settings, which really speeds up the commissioning of this room. Here we can see a confirmation that the room has been optimized and those default values have been set in the devices. We've got the 4 audio routes from the 2-foot array into IntelliMix Room, 1 per lobe, and we have the return feed, which aids the autofocus technology to keep focus on who is talking at that particular moment. If we look inside the IntelliMix Room component, we can see we've got 16 available microphone channels, and we also have our 8 program Dante feeds in. On top of this, we've got the virtual audio input, which represents audio coming from the far side of your conference, as well as the physical input from that PC. The microphone input channels all have their parametric EQ, echo cancellation, noise reduction, and gain control applied per channel, which is then auto-mixed together and then sent to the virtual audio output channel, which is where the audio from your microphone enters your soft codec application. From the output side here, we would be using the PC output because we don't have any dedicated loudspeakers in our system. And here we can select any output devices which show up on that PC. So that's a very quick overview of how you would start building a small huddle room very quickly, very easily using a 2-foot MXA 710 and an IntelliMix Room instance. So Tom, I think you're going to add some devices to this now and start looking at a larger room.
So let's have a look at the new MXA 710 microphone. Well, going back in history a little bit, ever since the MXA range first came out, people asked us, do you have a smaller version of the MXA-910, or can we mount it somewhere slightly different? We even had people saying, can we mount the MXA-310 on the wall? Well, now we have the perfect middle ground here in the MXA-710. It's a new form factor that costs less. So we can now mount this microphone in either a wall, ceiling or a table, and it's available in a 2-foot or a 4-foot length and comes in 3 colours, black, white and aluminium. This here is the MXA-710 in the 2-foot, and this one of course is the 4-foot option. Like the rest of our MXA ranges, these microphones feature the steerable coverage technology that you've known for many, many years. The 2-foot array, the front one again, has a total of 4 lobes available to it, and the 4-foot array has a total of 8 lobes. In terms of speaker distance, or talker distance rather, the 2-foot array, you'd expect to place your people about 1 to 5 metres away from the microphone. The 4-foot array would be about 2 to 6 metres away from the microphone, so that should give you an idea of how larger rooms you could start to specify with these mics. As well as the steerable coverage technology, all the microphones have the autofocus technology as well. This is the technology where once you've aimed a lobe at someone, it will gently begin to track them as they start to move around within their local vicinity to make sure you get the best audio possible. Shure Designer software allows us to use some default room coverage templates, and built into both microphones we have the IntelliMix DSP suite that you would know well from the MXA-910. This includes automatic mixing of the lobes generated in the microphones, as well as acoustic echo cancellation, noise reduction and automatic gain control. Like the rest of the MXA suite, both of these microphones already use just one single category cable to provide control, power and audio. So they're powered on Power over Ethernet and use Dante and AES67 as the networked audio protocol. Like the rest of the MXA range, they have an LED status bar with configurable colours and brightnesses, and you can make them be on or off or flash, whatever you want to do. They also have the Shure-to-Shure audio encryption feature built into them too. As we're going to show you in a second, we will use Shure Designer software to add them to locations and projects and set the microphones up. They will also be visible in the Shure System On asset management software for remote management and troubleshooting too. Here are 2 images to give you an idea or a flavour of where the microphones can be used. On the left-hand one, you can see the microphone is being suspended from the ceiling. And in the right-hand picture, you can see it's just mounted to the left-hand side of the screen there. So very, very flexible operation here. Included in the box, because we love accessories, is a wall mounting bracket at the bottom. We've got a wall cover plate for wall surface mounting, and as well as the eyelet screws for suspension mounting. That's the stuff you get in the box. Optionally though, you could have this desk stand to allow you to place it on a credenza or a surface, for example. There's also a ceiling bridge to allow you to put it in a drop tile ceiling. We also have a flush mount kit that can be used in either a wall, a table or a ceiling as well. Another mounting option is the Visa mount on the back. This is a Visa B mount, so you can use like a mic bracket adapter or any kind of Visa B mount that's available to you, which is 20 by 50 millimeters. So this is how you might want to mount the microphone. This is the microphone placed underneath of a screen. You could equally place it over the top of a screen. Or here's the 2-foot array being used on the side of a screen. And using the included eyelet mounts, you could use some wire and then mount the microphone on a ceiling like this. Here's a picture of the MXA-710 in the flush mount bracket already in its vertical orientation, so probably mounted in a wall. And lastly, this is the flush mount bracket in a table, but in addition to this, we've covered the mount and the microphone with some acoustically transparent material to give you an idea of what that might look like, so you can hide the microphone within the table if you chose to do so. Let's flip to Shure Designer and we can see the mic in action. So here we are in Shure Designer, and I'm going to use the 2 locations that Andrew set up a little while ago and add one of these mics into each of them. Let's start with the smaller roundhouse room. So we open this location, And you can see on the left-hand side in our online devices, we have the MXA-710 2-foot array. I'll quickly identify it and you can see one end of the mic is flashing.
Flashing at my end here.
Yeah, thank you. So that's the one I want. I'm just going to grab that into my design, and it said, how are you installing it? Well, I'm going to use the wall horizontal for this one. Let's add the device this time. Let's have a look straight at the coverage for this microphone and go to the coverage map. You can see here we've already added in the background image for this microphone. So I'm going to place the microphone here just under the display. So there we go, grab the microphone there, and then I'll rotate it around. Oh no, I'll rotate it around, there we go. That's close enough for now. And you can see that we've got 3 lobes pointing into this room. So I'm just going to tidy up lobe 2, point that in the middle, bring lobe 1 nicely in, and lobe 3 in there as well. So you can see that coverage would work really, really nicely for a room of this shape and size. Let me go to the other room, and we're going to add in the longer array into the roundhouse room, so the barbican room. Get that screen open. There we go. So you see the 2-foot array doesn't appear here because that's already allocated to a different location. So let me grab the 4-foot array this time. No need to identify it. Dump that in, and this time I'm going to mount it in the ceiling to show you how the array coverage looks different. I hit add device, adds the device in for me. Let's go to coverage map. And you can see here, let me get rid of this little screen as well. I'm going to drag the microphone into the center of our table here, representing it being mounted directly on the ceiling. There we go, and if I click off it, you can see where the lobes start to point. So I'm going to drag those lobes a little bit toward the end, tidy it up a bit, drag that one in the middle. You'll probably see as I move these and as I talk as well, you'll start to see some of the lobes adjusting. That's the autofocus working its magic. So it's centered on a given position, but then adjusting itself to where I'm pointing to right now. And that would happen to all the lobes at any one point in time as well. Okay, so let's have a look at the innards of the MXA-710 and the 4-foot one that we have open in this location right now. So click the configure button, and for those of you who've used MXA before, this screen should look pretty familiar. The channel coverage will look different, of course, because it's a very, very different form of microphone, but the channel strip is going to be pretty much exactly the same. That's the channels page, and we've now go to the IntelliMix page. Again, this will start to look familiar, where you've got the ability to choose where the channels go and how they operate, whether they have AGC switched on. And on the Automix output, you can see here the IntelliMix suite featuring the acoustic echo cancellation, noise reduction, a parametric EQ compressor, and delay available to you as well. So that's a quick rundown of the new MXA-710 microphones, and it's back over to Andrew for the next thing.
Thanks, Tom. We're now going to look at the other end of the signal chain, which then completes the Shure ecosystem with our new MXN5WC Power over Ethernet ceiling loudspeaker. The MXN5 is configurable in Shure's Designer, making it very quick and easy to set up and integrate with the rest of the audio system in your room. You can monitor it using this System On audio asset management software. Because it's part of our ecosystem, we can now send that encrypted audio from the microphone to the processor and then onto the loudspeaker. It's very sleek in its industrial design. You can see here it's just a very neat and tidy white circle that blends seamlessly into the ceiling. The grille is magnetic and therefore removable, so if you need to custom paint the microphone, you can do that. The Shure logo is magnetic as well, so if you want to make it completely indistinguishable from the rest of the ceiling, we can unbrand it. It's rated UL 2043 for plenum spaces. We're going to be offering a tile bridge accessory for quick and easy mounting. And connectivity is one single port Cat5 PoE, which matches the rest of the MXA family and eliminates the need for a dedicated power amp to drive a loudspeaker. So we look back at our huddle room, we can now see that we've added the microphone into the rest of the system via the PoE switch, which makes for a very sleek and neat and tidy installation for the whole audio system. If we scale this up, we can start to see that we can use 2 ceiling loudspeakers, again hanging off that one network switch, and this scales up incrementally into however larger space you might need. Right up to and including something which could include 3 MXA-910 ceiling arrays and requires 6 MXN loudspeakers.
That is massive.
It's a big space. So let's go back to Designer now and have a look at how we can configure this with the rest of the audio system. Here we can see that we've got the existing IntelliMix Room DSP installation. We also have our 2-foot MXA-710 loudspeaker, and adding a ceiling loudspeaker to this project is as simple as dragging it from the online devices list, placing it into the workspace, and hitting the Optimize button. Because we now have a known Shure microphone working with a Shure DSP, working with a Shure loudspeaker, we can tie all these devices together with one click of the button. And now we can see the audio route completing from the microphone to the DSP and out to the loudspeaker. If I double click the loudspeaker, we can look at some of the other parameters. So we've got our 2 Dante inputs. One is going to come from our IntelliMix Room PC, freeing up a second input, which could be used for something like a fire alarm evacuation notice. And on the loudspeaker itself, we've got some processing available. We've got some delay, so that if you're using multiple loudspeakers in a larger room, you can delay the sound so that it sounds like the audio is coming from the front of the room and not immediately from above. We've got a signal generator to identify and test the loudspeaker, a parametric EQ, and a limiter. And finally, and of course, we have an independent output volume meter. So it's actually got some quite nice little tools in this loudspeaker, being more than just a driver. If we jump to the coverage map now, we can see that we've got the microphone lobes that we've added previously. I can turn those off using the new layers feature. And I can drag the ceiling loudspeaker anywhere I want into the room, which shows on the concentric circles your -3, -6, and -9 decibel down point at 1 kilohertz compared to the center of the loudspeaker. So we can see here that this one loudspeaker in the middle of the room above the table gives us ample coverage for all the participants in that space. And that's really it. That's all you need to do to commission a loudspeaker in the Shure ecosystem.
The MXA network mute button is the last piece of the puzzle within the new ecosystem we're launching right now. The MXA-310 has always had the ability to be muted locally, but the MXA-910 and now the MXA-710s will need some form of control, particularly when you're using it with the Shure DSP processing. So we can now take the mute button and have that control directly on the table. So there's a picture of how the mute button looks when it's inside of a table, and we'd use Shure Designer software to set up and configure the button, and it also ends up in the System On portfolio as well. Like the rest of the portfolio here, this button is PoE powered, so one single category cable used to connect it up. And it's got third-party control strings available to it, so you can use it with other third-party devices or have it controlled by something else if you chose to do so too. Like the rest of the MXA microphones, there's an LED built into it, and you've got the same typical colors, and you can have it either off, on, or flashing in the way they're used to. And the mute button can be either push to talk, push to mute, or the good old-fashioned toggle. So you can see these pictures on the right-hand side of the whole unit, but I've just dismantled my microphone button here, so you can see the 2 component parts. You drill a hole and then screw that part into the table, and then this part goes over the microphone button like this. I line it up carefully, screw it on, and then this little cable here will plug into there, and then this network jack plugs into the network like that, and in a second or so it should start to power on for us. I'll now show you how we use it in Designer. We're back in Designer now, and I'm going to show you how we get the MXA mute button to control our new microphones here. I'm going to revisit the roundhouse room that I set up earlier with just my single MXA-710 microphone. Double click it to open it. I'm going to maximize the screen so it's neat. And you can see on our online devices I have a total of 2 MXA mute buttons, one either side. I want to get this one in here, so let me identify them and see which one it is. No, that's the other one. So let me grab this one in here. And you can see we've got these mute button connections. So I'm going to add the mute button straight onto the MXA mute. This will tie the 2 devices together and make the mutes synchronize with each other. So as I press the mute button here now, you can see the mute status on the microphone follows as well.
And the audio output from that microphone mutes.
Yeah, that's true. Thank you. I'm just going to move that one up there. I'm going to add a second microphone in, the MXA-710 4-foot array. This also has a mute input on it as well, and I can wire that input mute onto there as well. So now this microphone should control, sorry, this button should control both of the microphones. There we go, so you can see both microphones are running simultaneously. But in a room where we needed 2 microphones like that, we'd probably need more than 1 mute button. So what I'm going to do is add in the second mute button here. And if I complete the wiring, excuse my, this is annoying my OCD, it should be neater than this, but close enough for now. If you had more time, you'd wire it up properly. So now my microphone button should mute both the microphones, and also the microphone button on the other side.
And I can join the party.
There we go. So they all work in conjunction with each other. Let's have a quick look inside of my button here, the one next to me. You can see it's on mute here already, so I can unmute it from there, and all the microphones follow too. Just want to have a quick show you of the light section, so you can change the colours, as you would imagine, to the typical colours we get from the MXA range. So my microphone mute button now has gone blue, and you can change the microphone and whether it's on or whether it's flashing in either state, of course, as well. And lastly, with the logic control, how you have a toggle section or a push to mute or a push to talk available to you as well. So there we go, that's the new network mute button to complete the MXA range.
Now that we've had a look at each of our new products, the MXA-710, the MXN loudspeaker, the MXA-MUTE button, and the IntelliMix Room software, all in their individual components, let's have a quick look at how simple it is to get all of them working together as a complete room system. Let's revisit our Barbican Room project. And we can see, first of all, we're going to verify that all 6 of our devices are online and ready for use. And the first thing I'm going to do is take a look at the coverage map and orientate my microphones. So I'm going to grab the 4-foot MXA-710 linear array and place it in the wall horizontal orientation at the front of the room. And we can see I just need to rotate this around a little bit to face into the room. There we go. And it's going to sit in between those 2 screens there. So now we can see that the default coverage pattern is great for the members of the table at the front, but it's not quite reaching everybody at the back of the room. So let's add the 2-foot ceiling array at the end point of the coverage. And now this time we're going to place it in the ceiling orientation. Now, between the 2, we can see that all those room participants are being picked up equally well. And I can turn off the coverage of each one and clean up the workspace with our layers feature. The last thing we're going to add to the layers and the room coverage is my MXN loudspeaker. Here we can see, if we place it right in the center of the table, everyone around that is just about within the 6 dB down point. It might be a case now that we could consider adding a second loudspeaker if we had one at the front of the room and one towards the back, but for our graphic today, we'll use the one right in the middle.
Sounds good to me.
Now we've got our coverage sorted out, we can jump back to the routing page and add the extra products into the mix as well. So our loudspeaker would live on the right-hand side at the end of the signal chain. Our 2 microphones would live more towards the left, which would be the beginning. And we've got this nice space in the middle now. We can add our IntelliMix Room DSP. There we go. And finally, it's quite a large table in our room, so we're going to use 2 mute buttons, one for the crowd at the front of the table and the other for the crowd at the back of the table. So let's simply grab both of those together.
So does that mean you don't need to use a control system in this system now?
No, we don't need any third-party control to tie all the functions of the mute button, the auto mixer and the LEDs together. It all happens now with our magical optimize button.
Cool.
So I'll hit that now and we get the readout to tell us what's going to happen as part of that process. And now you'll see that all the audio routes are established one by one for the microphones. We get an output from IntelliMix Room into the loudspeaker, and we get our 2 microphone control buttons into the software here, and all of them are tied together with the 1 button. And this is all we really need to do for about 95% of the conferencing rooms that we would be specifying equipment for.
That's pretty quick.
Very quick indeed. So there we have all the new components of the Shure ecosystem, and let's not forget the others being the MXA-910 and the 310 and the P300, which completes all options for all the microphones and processors you should need. Thanks very much.
Thanks very much for that, Andrew and Tom. Hopefully that gives you a flavour for our new products. Finally, an end-to-end solution that ensures the audio signal chain is built for optimum performance. We're proud to be able to offer microphones, DSP in both hardware and software formats, and Shure software to design, monitor and control audio. This enables system integrators to deploy audio systems quicker and easier than ever before. No other hardware, software platforms offer quicker out-of-the-box configuration. The Optimize Audio button is just simply a thing of beauty. We've also worked very hard to ensure our products are certified, and we will continue to do so. Risk is minimised as there is only one contact point for the entire audio signal chain. Gone are the days of DSP manufacturers blaming mics, loudspeaker manufacturers blaming amps, etc, etc. It's all on Shure and we've got you. And that completes the presentation, so thanks for listening. We've had a few questions come through during the presentation, but please keep them coming and we'll get through as many of them as we can.